everyone. I'm delighted to be included in this wonderful lineup of speakers to talk to you today about the new landscape of organization and talent management. I'm J.R. Keller. I'm an associate professor of human resource studies at the ILR School at Cornell University in Ithaca, New York. I'm also the faculty director of our Executive Masters in Human Resource Management program, which is a master's program targeted to sort of mid-senior career HR leaders looking to move up into a chief human resource officer role. Yeah, I wanted to give you a little bit about my background so you can understand why I'm here talking to you about talent management trends for this year and in the near future. I think a little interesting background for me is that I actually started my career in corporate America, actually in a finance role at Johnson & Johnson, really understanding sort of the nuts and bolts of the pharmaceutical business before getting my PhD at the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania, really focused on HR and management. I have now been here at Cornell for 10 years. That means altogether, I've spent close to 20 years interested in studying talent management. I've included a few highlights here of some of the work that I've done so you can understand some of the questions that I ask and the type of research I do. So one of the distinguishing features of the HR Studies department here at Cornell is that we run something called the Center for Advanced Human Resource Studies. So we refer to that as CARS as an acronym, and we have close to 50 organizations that pay a membership every year to be part of a consortium of companies sharing best practices in the HR realm. And we're sharing sort of the cutting edge academic learnings with them. They're sharing the issues and problems and advances that they're making in the HR function. Most of the organizations here are large global organizations, though we have some small and medium-sized organizations. And so what's great about this is that I sort of have constant feedback from organizations on what they're doing and what they're wrestling with. And so you're going to hear a lot about those and some examples from those companies today as well. And as we survey, we spent the last year or so surveying companies on what are the big issues in the talent management space. And there are four themes that came up that I'd like to touch on in our time today. The first is what we call skills-based talent management, or this emphasis on really focusing on skills rather than jobs and particular experiences. I'll dig into a little bit more about how you can execute that effectively as an organization and what some of the pitfalls might be. There is a real big emphasis on learning, development, and reskilling, especially in the age of artificial intelligence. This third chapter is on actionable insights, which is kind of a fancy way of talking about people analytics or using data to make really great people decisions. And then all of that sort of culminates in this fourth chapter on HR operations, which is like, how do we structure HR to deliver on all of the promises that we'd like to make? And so I'll start with skills-based talent management. And I think, maybe this is just the professor in me, but I think it's really useful to start with a clear definition about what we're talking about, because I think oftentimes some of these terms get thrown around as fads and we don't have a shared understanding of what we're talking about. And so, I think when companies talk and consultants talk about skills-based talent management, they're really talking about a slight philosophical approach to attracting, retaining, and deploying talent in organizations. And that's one that prioritizes workers' skills and capabilities, right? Sort of what they can do over what we might think of as more traditional metrics, like what job titles people have or experience, right? So sort of years of experience or seniority when making talent decisions. And you see this everywhere. This is one of a million reports that I could have put a screenshot up for. This is one of the better ones from Deloitte. And this is actually now from a couple of years ago that talked about the skills-based organization being a new operating model for work. And again, you see this kind of everywhere that you're searching for HR and talent management.